Good morning, everyone. My name is Timothy Lee, and I'm a mining analyst here at Red Cloud Securities. We would like to thank WCPD for sponsoring this session. We welcome James Sykes, President and CEO of Baselode Energy. He will speak to us about Baselode's exciting uranium exploration in the Athabasca Basin of Saskatchewan. James, you have 15 minutes, and then we'll have a 5-minute Q&A at the end of the session. Attendees, please feel free to ask questions using the Q&A link below. Take it away, James.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Tim. Always a pleasure to be here with Red Cloud and all of your followers. We're going to talk about Accio, which is a new near-surface uranium discovery in the Athabasca Basin. We're very excited about Accio, and we are currently drilling. On February 9th, we released that our drill program had started. Now, to be very upfront and apparent and forthright, we did start the drill program within the coldest weeks of winter so far. So unfortunately, we had a little bit of delays due to mechanical issues and frozen water lines. But since then, we are now back and fully operational with 2 drills. So we should be able to put out news releases on a timely basis. We are planning for a 10,000 meter program this winter, and hopefully we will continue rolling right throughout the spring and into the summer as well. Just a little bit more about the company. Myself, as CEO, I've got a proven track record of discoveries, as does my colleague, Mr. Cameron McKay, our VP. We are fully funded with about 20 million in the bank, which is absolutely exciting position to be in, as this allows us to achieve all of our plans for this year. We've got 4 amazing projects that we would like to get operation on all of them, which we think that each one of these have the success for uranium discoveries. And of course, the market is hot. Nuclear energy is in high demand, especially considering the green energy revolution. In my opinion, there's nothing greener and more efficient than nuclear power, which is constant baseload energy. So baseload is somewhat unique in our exploration approach because we've simply really adapted the Athabasca 2.0 exploration thesis. What this is really is all about the economics behind uranium discoveries and uranium mining within the Athabasca Basin. If you consider that any of the mines that have gone into production in the Athabasca have typically been all of these deposits that are outside of the sandstone, so up in Uranium City, Cluff Lake, or even Eagle Point and Rabbit Lake, or they have been ones that have had very little sandstone cover and are open pittable. So if you can see on the right-hand side, you can see those, the underground, that nice long ellipse going down, and then the open pits that are with less than 100 meter sandstone cover. And there have only been 2 mines in the Athabasca that have more than 100 sandstone meters of cover that have gone into production. Those are McArthur River and Cigar Lake. They are the unicorns of the industry. Why? Because they're just monstrous in size and grade. However, both of those have flooded in the past twice. And those are some of the issues that any discovery with more than 100 meters of sandstone cover have to deal with. There's just such a massive amount of water infiltration rate. So we've identified that as being one of the biggest hindrances to Athabasca deposits. And when reviewing the whole Athabasca Basin, we're under the impression that based on analogous morphologies of sedimentary basins, that the Athabasca would have plateaued. And we think that there are outliers, sandstone outlier basins that do exceed the limits of what we currently know. We're already seeing such a thing over at Accio, so we think that there's far more potential. And even at our Catharsis project, we do believe we've got indications that there could be sandstone outliers nearby. But why is this important? Well, we'll kind of touch on that a little bit later. So Accio so far, we drilled 1,600 meters in 4 holes last year, and we've made 3 of those drill holes intersected uranium mineralization. The anomaly itself is about 1,500 meters long and about 500 meters wide. That's a geophysical anomaly, EM. Now, the anomaly itself is split between 2 companies, Baselode to the south and 92E to the north. Both are exploring for uranium mineralization in the Athabasca Basin. Of note, our holes, AK 2101, which is the discovery hole, and AK03, both have a GT, so grade thickness of about 2. So if you take hole 1, that's 15.5 meters, multiplied by 0.13 gives you about 2 GT. Why is that important? Well, simply because you can look at a lot of other uranium deposits, especially some of those that have gone into production. A drill hole with a 2 GT has gone into their resource estimates and have been used to define such mineralization. In other situations, such as McArthur River, there's a few holes that have a 2 GT or at least less than 5 GT that are within 25 to 50 meters of extremely high grade ore. So we think that the mineralization that we're seeing here at Accio could be very close to high grade mineralization over long widths. The mineralization that we've seen has been pretty widespread. If you see the cross section on the left hand side, there are a lot of red blips, and that really shows that mineralization is quite fertile within the whole system, that we're seeing mineralization throughout. However, the main zone that we're chasing is that upper zone, in which it's about 45 meters wide across the 3 intersections, and they range from 90 to 125 meters true vertical depth beneath the surface. This follows up with the open pit style strategy that we're looking for. 2 of those drill holes have intersected high-grade uranium, and they are currently open in all directions. This is one of my favorite pictures, simply because when I first saw the mineralization in this picture, it just clicked right away that this looked like what I had seen at the Rough Rider deposits when I was working with Hathor. Extreme clay alteration, you've got secondary hematite overprinting. But what I find even more encouraging are all the yellows and the pinks, because to me that indicates that the system has been mobilized, that this is not the end point for uranium, but that there are multiple locations for uranium mineralization. It's a big fluid system. To get that amount of clay alteration, you have to pump in a lot of fluids. So it's definitely very encouraging. And you can see some of the high grades that we have hit here. We've half a meter, 1.29% over half a meter. And that part of that core looks like this. You can see visible uranium as these blebs within the core. Again, I could throw that into the Rough Rider system. You would never know that this came from Accio and not from Rough Rider. But seeing visible high-grade uranium within your first drill hole is definitely very exciting. You got to think statistically, what are the chances that that is the only high grade that you hit? Probably very minimal. There should be a lot more high grade out there, and that's what 10,000 meters will hopefully define for us. Another piece of high grade core, again, we're using the term high grade as meaning anything greater than 0.5% weight percent U3O8. So this one, an example, 0.66. But the takeaway from this is not the alteration in the background, not all the green colorations of clay alteration, but it's the pinks and the whites associated with the uranium, which is black. The pinks and the whites are a carbonate quartz type of vein breccia system, and which is akin to what we had originally discovered on the very first Arrow drill hole discovery. In the upper zone, we had hit a quartz carbonate uranium breccia system. Lo and behold, you follow that for about 100 and 200 meters, and the A2 high-grade zone was discovered. So we think that this is also a similar type of indication, that these are the type of mineral assemblages that you see along fluid pathways that are indicative of being proximal to high-grade uranium systems. Now, I was mentioning earlier that if you've got over 100 meters sandstone cover, then that's typically not a good thing. At Accio, we do have sandstone, however, it is very thin. We've got about 20 to 30 meters of sandstone cover, and that unconformity, so where the sandstone meets the basement rocks, is about 50 meters beneath the surface, true vertical depth. Why is the sandstone important then? And most of the deposits that have been found in the Athabasca are all unconformity hosted deposits. So there's a chemical and structural trap that occurs at the unconformity. And because of this, typically Athabasca or unconformity deposits are typically much higher grade. And so with, despite the fact that we've got basement mineralization, we've also got the potential for Athabasca unconformity mineralization. So we've got two potentials here, and it's definitely very exciting. We do see faulting, we see alteration within the faulting, so we know that these structures have affected the sandstone. So as we drill each drill hole that we are planning, we are trying to achieve we're trying to test two targets. We're trying to test for unconformity mineralization while also trying to follow up the basement hosted mineralization. So it is a little bit tricky, but doing so allows us to be more effective and efficient with our drilling. Accio is in the right place. You couldn't ask for any better infrastructure. We're about 30 kilometers both east and west of roads and highways that both have power lines. So it's the infrastructure that you need is right there. We're about 70 kilometers northeast from the Key Lake Mill. So it'd just be a quick and simple road to go into the Key Lake MacArthur Road and then ship any mineralization down to Key Lake. Now, if this turns out to be an economic and mineable deposit, then the infrastructure is right there to move forward. The original Key Lake Haul Road that was put in back in the 1970s to service Key Lake literally runs right beside Accio. It's there's definitely infrastructure that was already in place. I would also like to note that about 20% of our exploration budget from last year went directly into Indigenous owned businesses and employees. And we like to continue that tradition, and that's that working relationship that we have moving forward. So as I mentioned, we do take a little bit of an exploration different approach. That we do believe the sandstone was a lot larger than what you see in this image. But we think that both catharsis and shadow were at some point covered by Athabasca sandstones, and where the basement rocks are now would have been close to the surface. So all of our projects, we humbly believe, are prospective for mineralization. They were also staked on the regional structural features that we observed at all of these projects. And I think with the success that we've seen at Hook with the project, with the staking that we've done so far, has already proven that our thesis and our logic behind our staking has proven to be true. Catharsis is a very large project. It is on trend with it's on a geological trend that hosts more than 2 billion pounds of uranium. On the east side of the project, we've got a number of historic high-grade showings that were discovered in outcrop. Now, reading those reports, they're all mentioned that they are associated with shears and structures. So this is the right type of environment that we want to see. We will be following that up this summer. We do have drill holes planned for this project, about 2,500 meters to 5,000 meters, and we should be seeing that in the future. Very exciting project, and we think that has a lot of potential that has been ignored. Our Shadow project, which was the original project that we staked, situated along the Virgin River Shear Zone, which is a fertile corridor for uranium mineralization, as there are 4 deposits already along it to the north of us. Which we really see that this is an area that has the potential for multiple areas of uranium mineralization. It's just a matter of being able to drill and to explore. However, the project is still in a latency period, as we have been in consultation with the Indigenous group in the area since October 2020, so about 16 months now, which we do continue the consultation. We hope that everything will be resolved in the near future. Very exciting year for us in 2022. We're fully cashed up to see it all through. We are looking for a minimum of 20,000 meters all in on Accio, but we have the funds and have budgeted towards 40,000 meters if we need to, depending on what we see. We've had a little bit of a change in strategy in that we will continue drilling all the way throughout Q1 and Q2 with no break on Accio. Reason being, if you know what the exploration market is like, drillers and drill companies are hard to come by now. So if we figure if we take a break, we might lose our drill crew, and we'd rather retain them. But this will also allow us to be more effective with our exploration on both Hook and Catharsis, and that we can leave one drill drilling on Accio and we can take the other drill and start bumping it around to these other projects, as everything we do is helicopter supported and quite easy to do. We do have some airborne geophysical surveys planned for some of our projects that will help us delineate some other targets. As mentioned previously, we do believe that each of these projects is ripe for discovery. And if everything goes well and we like what we're seeing, then we will start a NI 43-101 resource calculation on Accio. So our fingers are crossed that everything turns out to be true and that we can initiate this by the end of the year. We've got about 110 million shares fully diluted. That's about 80 million shares outstanding at the moment. Share price as of today is upwards of about 80 cents. Our market cap's over 50 million. Again, fully cashed up, 20 million in the bank, about 17% insiders, funds, and institutions, about 50%, and the retail investors who a number of them have been with us since the early days in 2020. We are part of the OR group of companies, which is a great team to be working with, and we've been very successful on a number of companies. We've got a proven team, again, with the OR group of companies in the background, helping us out on a lot of financial sides, but also the technical expertise that our group has here in Saskatchewan. I think we're pretty well unparalleled and will hopefully continue to make some discoveries. A little bit about market and who we are, and that's how you can contact us. You can email me personally, or you can go onto the website info@baselode.com, and you can email us that way. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much, James, for the informative presentation. We'll now move to the Q&A session. We do have a few questions here. First, how long do you anticipate that the 10,000 meter drill program will take?
No later than the end of April. But again, since we want to retain the drillers, and we'll continue drilling throughout May and into June. So it's just going to be run on. And then this will also provide us with a lot of news flow for the remainder of the year.
Great. And do you expect to release drill results as you receive them, or will you kind of look at grouped batches?
A little bit of both. We originally planned to have news out every 2 weeks, but again, with the start of the drill season, we did run into some technical issues. And so after 2 weeks from when we announced our drilling, we would not have had a lot of news. Now that everything is fully operational, the plan is to issue news releases every 2 weeks based on the radioactivity that we see from the drill holes as a first pass. And because the way that we have scheduled our field crew, they will be out on a weekly basis with rotation. So we will get samples being shipped to the lab on a weekly basis, and we'll release those as well within that same 2-week bracket.
Okay, great. And looking around at the area here, one question about one of your neighbors. Do you know if 92E or 92 Energy is planning more drilling near Accio?
Can't comment. It's whatever they've got up in the news on their end. That's what they're doing.
Sure thing. And then looking ahead here, when might you need to raise more cash to continue exploration?
I have no ideas. I guess a lot really hinges on how the exploration goes for this year. I do believe that I have over budgeted everything for this year, so that should leave us with a lot of capital down the road. We've got about 10 million flow through commitment that we have to see done this year, and then the rest is all in hard dollars. So we obviously don't want to dilute ourselves of all the hard dollars, and we'll see how it is by the end of the year as we get closer to July, August, where we stand.
Okay, great. All right. Well, I think that's all the questions we have here today. I'd like to thank you again, James Sykes from Baselode Energy, for presenting today. And thank you everyone out there for joining us today.